Greetings, wonderful, beautiful deep divers. Shout out to all of you wonderful deep divers. We've got a very, very special guest, right? We're not going to waste time, right? We got the amazing brother back. Billy Carson returns on Infinite Waters, diving deep. I'm so honored to have you once again. Like I say, someone of your magnitude, all the great work you're doing. If you don't know deep divers, let me just tell you this. Billy Carson is the founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge, the best-selling author of the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, and woke doesn't mean broke. Billy Carson is also the founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge TV. Deep divers, we're going to talk about UFOs, aliens, ancient civilizations, New Earth, AI, hidden knowledge. We've got so much to talk about, but it's not about me. I'm just here to listen. I'm just here to listen. And so much has happened since we last talked. So much has happened in the whole world. The whole planet is just transformed. First of all, how have you been, brother?
Fantastic. Life has been great. I'm living my best life. As I told you earlier off camera, just got married in Bora Bora on December the 4th at the Four
Congratulations.
Seasons at 4 p.m. Thanks.
Congratulations.
So everything is great. Back from Egypt again so I spent quite a bit of time in 2023 in Egypt, over a month. And glad to be here with you, brother.
Right. So let's start with this, because I was scanning the news. And in Capitol Hill, there have been some people who have been trying to block lawmakers trying to disclose information about UAPs and UFOs. So I wanted to start with asking you, why is there such a concerted effort to kind of block the disclosure and the transparency of all of this information?
Yeah, they really want, they meaning the military industrial complex, because that's who's running things behind the scenes. They really want to control the narrative. The narrative must be controlled for them to maintain dominance, power, and also capitalism. So if you let people from the inside start becoming whistleblowers and giving out information like Grush did, we have bodies not from this world. We have ships not of this world. Now, all of a sudden, the general population is going to be like, well, wait a minute. Well, how do they work? How do they fly? What is the technology? Why aren't you giving or disclosing the information to us? How come we can't see it? Show us the bodies. Show us the technology. If you guys are reverse engineering it, when will it be made available to the general public so that we can ease our burden and we can make life easier here on this planet? Those are things they don't want to happen. What they want to do is control the narrative. And because they control the narrative, they control the power. Because behind the scenes, they can make all different types of technologies. They can contract it out to military, and then they can also contract it out to private corporations that eventually will drip it down to the main people, the mainstream civilization, on a very slow drip by drip basis to give them the maximum amount of time to capitalize on that technology. The second reason is because there's no more money in wars on the planet. I mean, yeah, you have Russia and Ukraine, you have the thing going on in Israel, but other than that, there really is nowhere else for the United States to specifically go and, invade again and put a puppet dictator. And they've done it everywhere. They've already dominated the planet and gone and put their dictators in and taken all the resources. Now, the next big moneymaker is space. That's why we have the Space Force now, so that they don't have to answer questions like Oliver North did about where the $17 trillion went. Where did it go missing? How is it missing? What was it spent on? No more inquiries. We just tell you now, we took the trillions and we put them into the Space Force. Why? Because in some point in the future, and remember I told you this, and Dr. Stephen Greer has talked about this as well, there will be a false attack. They will take one of our own developed UAPs. They will not claim it to be ours. It will shoot at one of our military vessels, most likely a ship in the ocean, a Navy ship. And that will give them the right now to divert trillions of dollars towards the Space Force, which is a whole nother burgeoning industry that they're going to use to make multi-trillions of dollars. And a lot of people in those Pentagon offices and a lot of people in these private corporations, and the ones who sits on the board of these polytricksters that sit on the boards of these companies are going to make a lot of money behind the scenes as this money is diverted into space weaponry and a space defense and all these things that we really truthfully don't even need. A lot of them will never see the light of day. A lot of the technology will never even be fully developed. That's one of the biggest things that they do. They'll get billions and they'll start working on something and never finish it. Then they move on to another project.
Right.
So it's a big money maker. And then they can also make new laws that restrict and take away more of our freedoms. I call them freedoms, DUMBS. So we have a situation here where that's the ultimate reason. That the answer to your question is for control, power, domination, and capitalization.
So you're in Miami. And that's a beautiful place. And Miami made the headlines with 8 to 10 foot giant aliens in a Miami mall. You know, I covered that story. And some people at the scene said they saw something. I played a video where it seemed like it was a shadowy figure. Then another video that it was 3 people walking across. What's your take on that whole situation? And why was it so kind of put out there?
Yeah, I just kept digging and digging into it. And I kind of came across the same footage, you know, that you saw with so many people seeing something and going online and talking about the fact that they saw something, but not really having a lot of good, credible coverage to really break down and analyze. It sent what we did have to our video editors to take a look at. They couldn't make any real thing of it either. It could be a hologram. It could be a test of a hologram. It could be a psyop by the military. It could be a real alien. There's so many possibilities, but there is really no definitive answer as to specifically exactly what it was. It could be even a, you know, like I said, a psyop. It could be a test by the government. Let's test this out and just see how the people respond. Let's see how, if they get afraid. Let's see if they become humble. Let's see if they get curious and want to see if they can approach it. But what happened, whatever it was, everyone started fleeing and running in every direction and screaming. So it just proves the Brookings report again that, you know, maybe most people aren't even ready to see or talk to or encounter an alien being at this time.
Right. So one of the biggest questions a lot of people have, the everyday person has, you know, they're battling this idea. Is it real or is it fake? You know, because we're often told, you know, through Hollywood what aliens look like. Do they even look like that? Are they out to get us? Are they out to harm us? What's your whole take on this whole kind of, you know, people have kind of sensationalized these aliens like they're going to kill every human being on the planet. Should we be really afraid of them, of the UFOs, the UAPs, the aliens? Are they trying to hurt humanity, or is it something totally different?
I think that's a great question. And I really believe that they're not trying to hurt humanity at this time, at least. I know that in the past, according to ancient records, they came here and engaged mankind. And in some ways, they put a little bit of their boot on our neck and directed our civilization in the route that they wanted to see it go. But since then, I believe that this earth has become an abandoned seed colony, and we're the seeds. And I don't believe that there's been any race that we've encountered for the last several, maybe 2,000 years, or maybe just slightly less than that, maybe at least 1,500, that is looking to harm, injure, pillage, steal, eradicate any mankind at all. As a matter of fact, I believe that we've been getting visited on a very consistent basis, and that we're being watched. And the fact that they have showed up at flights. Now, these flights are actual nuclear silos. They call them flights in the military. And the people that run these flights, the military officers that actually protect the nuclear silos and the coding officer that actually codes and programs the nukes, have already come forward and testified several times that UFOs showed up at these flights in different places around the world that were owned by the United States government and deactivated the nukes as a show of, hey, you guys you're not gonna use these nukes on this planet. We're not gonna allow you to destroy yourselves. I think that's the message that was being sent. Also, if you think about an advanced race of beings that are probably 1 million years ahead of us, they can cross the vast distances of space, probably using an Einstein-Rosen bridge or whatever. I seriously doubt they're gonna come to this planet and start using beam weapons and firing on us and blowing things up like you see in the movies, getting out and running around on foot and hunting us down. I think that's Hollywood. To be honest with you, if I were an advanced race and I wanted to take over an entire planet, I would simply just find out what the bioorganism structure is, the cell structure, and then I would release some type of contaminant in the high atmosphere and wait 2 or 3 weeks and allow it to just literally kill everybody. And I would just take over what already exists without having any wars whatsoever. People would lay down and go to sleep and never wake up. So it's too easy to tap into the water system or what. Why come guns blazing? I think that if they wanted to kill us, we would be dead already.
Right, right. Because
to dominate us, yeah, you know. So
also,
yeah, I mean,
there was, people were saying as well that commercial pilots, they were trying to block commercial pilots from actually, identifying UAPs. So why is there such a suppression of the truth? Is there something there? I mean, a lot of people are aware that there was actually a video, I don't know if you saw it in Brazil, of these two things, these two giants on some kind of cliff or mountain, and people said it's impossible for anyone to go there. So people all around the world are having these sightings. Why is there such a big suppression of the truth, and what are people really afraid of coming out?
Yeah. Well, you got to understand that the government is in bed with the political and religious system. And those two systems are the systems that are programming our reality around the world. It's a matrix. It's a knowledge matrix built on dogma. Polytricksters are full of dogma, and so are our religious figures full of dogma. That dogma programs our base reality and gives us an illusion of what life is really all about and who we are and how we're supposed to live. And so once you discover that that dogma has a loophole or a hole in it, and it's really the fact that we're not the only people in the world. We're not the only people in the universe. There's other beings coming to visit us on a consistent basis. Well, wait, who is their savior? Who made them? And all these questions start popping up. All of a sudden, people begin to start asking too many questions that can't be answered. And now people are leaving out of religious centers. Maybe people are starting to question the government too much. Can you protect us or can you not protect us? How can you stop these? You can't stop them from coming here. If they wanted to kill us, they can. So now we don't believe the government can even protect us all of a sudden. So now we lose faith in them. We lose faith in their ability to stop these people or these beings from going back and forth. So it raises all these questions. So now we're pulling out of religion. We're pulling back on polytricksters. And all of a sudden they're losing domination and losing control. And that's something they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose a grip on us. The religious system alone is worth multi-trillions of dollars per year. More than all of the Silicon Valley corporations combined in 1 year. Religion supersedes that. And that's something they don't want to relinquish. And of course, don't forget about the entire polytrickster system with all the money they take in. And so once we start questioning things too much, we begin to wake up, our eyes open, we begin to see behind the veil. Right. And if that happens, it's the collapse of their whole system.
Well, that's the thing, because children ask these questions. Where did we come from? What's the meaning of life? And I truly feel that Pandora's box is about to be opened. Someone's trying to make sure it doesn't get open. But like you said, we've been manipulated so much. When we take a look at ancient civilizations, I was listening to someone, an architect, saying that we can't build the pyramids today. With all the technology we have, we can't do it. So how come they were able to do it thousands of years ago? Because a lot of people said they didn't even have the tools to build a pyramid.
That's fact.
So, right. So what's happening here? How come we can't even build what they built thousands of years ago?
Yeah. Well, one place that I specialize in, as you already know, is ancient civilizations. And I've been to so many ancient sites around the world. I spent 9 months in hotels in 2023. Think about that. 9 months in hotels, just traveling and looping this planet and going to so many different civilizations and visiting them. Spent over a month in Egypt, taking people on tours. We took 140 people on tours throughout Egypt in October alone, and spent about a total of maybe 8 to 10 hours inside the Great Pyramid, exploring it, going to the subterranean shaft, which hardly anybody in the world even knows exists, going down 65 meters beneath the pyramid to get to another area where you could descend another 35 to 40 meters beneath straight down, and to see what's down there. And so analyzing the Great Pyramid and seeing how it's built and seeing these shafts that cut through solid stone. In other words, the way the structure was built, number one, all the stones are individually customized for each position. There are no two stones alike on the Great Pyramid. That's number one. So all this rolling logs and building mud ramps and trying to put them in place, you can't just put them in place because each stone is specifically made for that one piece. It's like a gigantic puzzle. They're interlocking stones, which means every stone is unique, like a fingerprint. The next thing is when you see these shafts from the inside of the shaft, you realize that there was some type of a beam weapon that went from the outside, going down in a particular angle, slicing through solid stone and pulverizing it on the way through, because you can't excavate any of this material. It's got to be clean. And so these shafts, when you go down them, and I've been down, there's many pictures of me on video clips going down these shafts, they cut through solid stone, and you can see the individual stones as you're descending, but you realize that they've been cut and they've been, in some way, some type of machine has even vitrified some of them all the way down, which means 3,000 plus degree temperatures. And so it's really amazing. We don't have anything close to as far as a machine or an engineer that exists anywhere on Earth at this exact moment that can replicate or duplicate the building of just one of these pyramids. Forget all the other ones. Just the Great Pyramid alone, it can't be produced. I don't care if you got 100 engineers, 20 theoretical physicists, and a whole bunch of people who are great with tech and machines. They couldn't build it today. And that tells
a lot of people sometimes say, okay, it was the people living in that area at the time who built it. Do you agree with that? That it was just ordinary architects who built it, or people around who? Yeah. Right.
You see, and when I say that, a lot of people, especially people of color, they tend to get a little irritated because they think I'm stealing their heritage from them. Not really. You have to forget about ego, forget about emotions, forget about feelings. We have to think from a logical mind. We have to go from the emotional mind to the logical mind and realize that chicken bones and copper chisels ain't gonna build a pyramid. The mud ramp theory, forget about it. You would need more mass in mud than the pyramid itself. So you need over 100 cubic tons of mud. Not gonna happen. The next thing is, if you go to the floating theory has already been debunked because you can't float these megalithic stones. They would still sink. You would have to have a flotation piece almost the size of some of these gigantic cruise ships to float a couple of stones. Not going to happen, not going to work. So these cockamamie theories that they've come up with, they don't exist. And the cutting techniques used to build this don't exist. Now, what does exist is actual text written by people from that era. And those people that we're saying were there said that the Nitiru, and if you're talking about ancient Kemet now, the Nitiru, they were the gods that came from heaven to earth and turned mud into a kingdom. And then they show you pictures of these people. And they say that these people were the master architects of these structures and that they helped them build them, but they were under the guidance of the engineers who were, for example, Thoth, the Atlantean priest king, who the ancient Kemet people say he ruled over the land of Kemet before it was a dynastic era. He ruled over Kemet for 16,000 years, one man. I didn't say that. You didn't say that. Our ancestors said that. So when we challenge them and we say that, it's ridiculous and all this we're spitting in their face. We're saying that they were idiots and we're saying that they were dumb. What the fact is, they told us, and they wrote down specifically, etched into stone throughout Egypt, hey, these people came here from somewhere else, and they brought this advanced knowledge, and they taught it to us, and we helped them build these structures. And that's an actual fact, and that's what I take people to see when I take them to Egypt, so they can see with their own eyes and be like, wow, this is amazing, this is real, this is what really happened here. Not little green men with antenna, but people that look like you and I, hominids that look like you and I, help build these pyramids with advanced knowledge and advanced wisdom.
Your work is so amazing. I remember coming across Forbidden Knowledge. I'm like, this is like what I needed to see at university, what I needed to see at school. There seems to be a big decay of society right now. There seems to be a collapse of the matrix right now. And there have been films like Leave the World Behind. There's also upcoming films like The Electric State. What's your take on even films depicting a kind of future for humanity, like Leave the World Behind, they're talking about internet blackouts. Do you feel that's gonna happen? Do you think that's just fiction? Do you think that cyber attacks are on the horizon, or the world we're heading in is one where a lot of people need to pay attention to?
Mm-hmm. Well, when you get to the precipice of big change, that's when all the adversity comes. And that's where humanity is headed right now. We're heading into the age of Aquarius. That's 2025. It's a year away. That'll be the very real beginning of the age of Aquarius, which is the age of enlightenment. So we're getting ourselves ready for that now. And as we head and shift from this matrix into the next, you're going to see a lot of adversity. A lot of things are going to begin to happen. Things that you would think probably wouldn't even happen are going to begin to happen. And that's a process of the natural evolution of a civilization that's waking up. So like I talked to somebody the other day, if you can imagine the metaphor of this, of civilization as a baby, it learns eventually how to raise its neck up, and now then it can get on all fours, so it can begin to crawl. Humanity right now is in the crawling phase. We're in the crawling phase right now. And so as it begins to crawl, even that crawling, it flops down on its stomach. Sometimes it just loses this little bit of strength and bounce, flops down. When it hits the stomach, it might cry a little bit or get a little frustrated. That's the state of humanity at this exact moment, right? So we flopped onto our stomach. We got to get back on our hands and knees again. Eventually, as we continue to awaken by just through consciousness, studying, persevering, research, investigation, asking questions, becoming more knowledge of self, we will then reach up to the edge of a little table or a little couch, and we'll pull ourselves up. And you'll see a lot of things begin to change very rapidly, and civilization will just begin to advance, and things will open up, and opportunities and economic systems will begin to shift and change in so many different ways. But after that baby takes the first couple of steps, what happens? It's going to fall. It's going to plop down hard. It's going to cry for a few minutes. That's going to happen to us. That could be a cyber attack. That could be an EMP attack. That could be, it could even be a geological disaster. There's so many things that can happen, but we will fall. But then guess what? We already knew how to crawl. We knew how to stand up, and we knew how to get to the edge of that table and pull ourselves back up again. So we'll pull ourselves back up again and take a few more steps. We'll fall again, but it won't be a crying this time. It'll be like, oh, this is normal. I'll pull myself up again. Eventually we learn how to walk. And what is walking? Walking is a series of controlled falls. That's the actual definition of walking. And eventually we'll walk, and then from there we'll run.
Fantastic. Now, I've been doing this work, you've been doing this work, and you probably know that what goes viral is kind of shock. People are addicted to violence in this society. Bad news. 100 people dead here. Crazy things happen. So many people... there's a great awakening happening, but I still feel so many people are still in that shock. They want to be shocked. They want to be entertained. It's like a gladiator arena. Are you not entertained? So, how come negativity has become so much more addictive than positivity on this planet? Like bad news. All of the news stations, is just full of bad news every single day. And people consume it, but it's not only the news, it's people want it. People don't want to be inspired. People don't want positivity. People don't want to just chill on the beach and relax. It's like people are addicted to terrible things happening. What's going on right now?
You said the key word, addicted. You see?
Right.
Just like you can be addicted to sugar, cocaine, any other type of thing that can influence you, marijuana or whatever, you can be addicted to fear. You can be addicted to drama, trauma. And so what's happened is, because of social media and because of everything showing up instantaneously in the palms of our hand just by looking down and swiping, we get access to drama and trauma from all around the world instantaneously, even faster than the nightly news can put it out. It's there on your feed before anyone else gets it. And so now, because of that, it's spiking the cortisol in the body. It's spiking other chemicals in the body, right? And so now what's happening is we're beginning to get addicted to those spikes in cortisol and other hormones that are being triggered. And so now it's almost like how you're training a dog. You give the dog a treat when it sits down. You give the dog a treat when it goes outside the potty. And so every time we swipe and we get that hit of that trauma, we get the adrenaline, we get the cortisol going. and our body begins to get used to that, and it begins to want it more. So even when you're not thinking about looking for it, you look down and you start swiping, and then it comes up again. And then the second thing that's happening is the algorithm kicks in. So the social media algorithm, it's really not anything miraculous. All they did was they found out how the law of attraction worked, and they applied the law of attraction to social media feeds and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat and everything else. It works on the law of attraction. Whatever you're seeking is seeking you. So it doesn't matter high frequency or low frequency. The law of attraction always works. It's a boomerang. So once you go down that feed and you go into a person getting beat down, a street fight, you'll begin to see another street fight after a few more swipes. And by a week's time, you'll get nothing but street fights. You'll get nothing but people getting gunned down. If you start digging into some other area, you'll get that. Whatever it is, if you start going to positivity and focusing on accounts that only show positive stuff, you'll get more of that. It works the same way. But the people that begin to see those things and watch them, the algorithm catches them. Now the algorithm keeps feeding the cortisol and adrenaline, and the person doesn't even realize that they're addicted to those hormones, and they go into this spiraling cycle. The news and the media, they're masters at neuroscience. They know how to apply neuroscience. They say, man, we can spike them. We already know they're addicted to these hormones and they can stay addicted to them. So we're going to keep tossing this hormone stimulating stuff at them nonstop. And that's going to get them going. And then we got them. Now we can sell ads. We can promote ads. And those ads are going to generate us billions of dollars a year. And now we've got these people hooked on violence and fear and trauma.
Right. Because the elections are coming up, and there's an upcoming film called Civil War. And, you know, it's Biden or Trump. You know, a lot of people are still looking towards leaders. One of my mentors by the name of Krishnamurti said, it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And have you ever wondered why we have leaders? And I always thought about that. Have we ever wondered why we have leaders, why we need leaders? But apparently we do, right? And so many people get into this as soon as it's the elections and people get hyped up and Democrat, Republican. In your mind, do we need leaders?
In my mind, we do not need leaders. What we need to do is become leaders. You see, it always goes back to the same thing. We keep giving away our power. I talked about this the other day on a live I did. We keep relinquishing our power to these outside sources. We keep believing in someone else that doesn't even have our best interest at heart. And we're willing to die for that, fight for that, kill for that, suffer for that. And these people can care less even who we are. They don't even know our names. And so we have to begin to realize and see beyond the veil and realize it's not about them. It's about us. What can I do to be my own leader? Let me start leading myself. First of all, can I stick to 10 things that I say I'm going to do every single day? Can I lead my family in the right direction? Can I keep up my promises to my own self and my family? Why, if I can't even do that properly, why would I even give that away to somebody else to do? Why would I be sitting back, kick my feet up, watch the world burn, and wait for somebody else to do things that I myself should be doing? That's why I tell people every 4 years, I go down to the voting booth, just like everyone else. But I write my name on the ballot. I get the blank ballot,
yes.
And I write Billy Carson on there and drop
Yes.
that right in the box. Because guess what? I am my own president, and everyone needs to become their own president. And when we all take that mindset, this planet will shift overnight. If everyone did that on voting day, imagine the power and the message that would send out, and everyone goes home as their own president, leading and guiding and believing in themselves to make a change in their neighborhood, in their city. Instead of waiting for somebody to come clean up your city, why don't you get people together and go clean up your city? Why don't you guys go raise money to build a new park for the kids? Why aren't we doing this stuff for ourselves instead of waiting and hoping and wishing, when we should be the ones taking over and doing what needs to be done ourselves? It's always the mirror. When we keep saying they didn't do this and Trump didn't that and Biden didn't do this and blah, blah, blah. No, it's us. We're the ones who allow things to happen by our collusion through silence and agreement.
Fantastic. And let's talk about healing as well, because in 2020, the whole world was shut down. And someone just told me that actually it's like everyone's forgotten about that. And it suddenly dawned on me that every 150 years, 8 billion people are gone. An entire generation are gone. And then a new 8 billion come. And someone you know, people like the theoretical physicist Professor James Gates talk about the world being a kind of simulation, and things aren't what they seem. I mean, what's your view? Even Elon Musk, people have come out saying it's a kind of simulation. And what's your view on that?
Yeah, they're right on point. Listen, I talk about Professor James Gates Jr. all the time. I think his work is phenomenal. He's an expert in supersymmetry. And what he discovered was that these Adinkra codes, which go all the way back to the Dogon tribe, are not just patterns on cloth, but when you take them into a three-dimensional form, they make up something called error-correcting codes. And these error-correcting codes are the same exact codes that run search engines and web browsers, but they also are running the ether of space-time itself, which means we're living in a program simulation. I believe that we're living in a fractal holographic universe, which is a part of a fractal holographic light matrix, a matrix of actual light. And because we're fully immersed in it, we can't detect that we're living in a matrix of light because, oh, I look at my skin. My skin is brown. I feel like I can touch it. That's all illusory. Everything that exists in the third dimension that appears to be solid or solidity is an illusion. Distance is an illusion. You're not across the world from me, and I'm not across the world from you. We're local. Everything is an illusion. So what does that mean? We know that in quantum physics, at the very base root, everything exists in multiple positions or what we call superposition of each other. Multiple outcomes happening all at once. And everything exists as a wave of light until consciousness collapses it into something solid. And what appears to be solid is just light waves slow down to a particular frequency. And the thing that only stops us from passing our hands through tables and walking through walls is the fact that the atoms in our body are at a different subatomic frequency and vibrating wise than the atoms inside of a wall. Otherwise, we can match the atoms in the wall. We can walk right through the wall. So we know that we're living in a matrix of light that's an illusory, that there's only one consciousness that actually exists, and all of us are sharing that same one mind. The mind has divided itself into a point number system. For example, 99.1 on the radio, 99.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and each one of our avatar bodies is attuned to pick up a point number frequency and let it animate our avatar body. But what's happening is I believe that the universe itself is conscious, is a conscious entity imbued with divine energy, and it's experiencing what it's like to be everything that's made of atoms in the third dimension. And that even includes inanimate objects like a remote control. People will say this is a man-made object because it's a remote control. No, this isn't man-made because man can't make atoms. Only thing man can do is stack atoms like Legos. So we stacked atoms like Legos in a particular format that allowed us to utilize this as something as a tool, but we didn't make the atoms, which means that this is conscious because every atom, according to quantum theory, is conscious because the electrons are conscious because they make conscious decisions. So we're living in a world, I believe, that is a fractal holographic universe. And that just means that that's the method of creation utilized. We're living in something that's powered by software, divine software, if you want to call it that, and that there is a real creator. That's why I believe there is a God. I believe there's a creator. I think the mathematics points to that. And it doesn't take away from us being real or not real and these kinds of things. I'm saying, what is the method used to create this realm? In my opinion, it's a fractal holographic matrix. The Mandelbrot set mathematical phrase was taken by a company called Pixar. Pixar took that Mandelbrot set phrase from Benoit Mandelbrot and programmed it into animation and found that one line of mathematics can create the entire animated series. And they said, wow, man, this is incredible. They made billions off of that, that knowledge, and now everyone's using the same Mandelbrot code. Then you have 15 students from a university that took that same fractal code and put it into a video game called No Man's Sky. It has 80 quadrillion worlds and unlimited life forms on each planet, and the game never ends. They made a universe on one DVD. Imagine when they add AI to that DVD, those beings will begin to be conscious. They'll begin to ask who they are, where they came from, what was the Big Bang? Well, that was when we turned on the game console. You see? So I believe that base reality is somewhere, but we're nowhere close to base reality. We're very far from it.
And talking of AI, a lot of people go into supermarkets, they don't see people anymore. And it seems like AI is slowly replacing humanity. in terms of jobs. You know, a lot of people are going to be unemployed in the next 5 years. What threat does AI pose to humanity, and what help does it help humanity?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the threat first, and we'll end on the positive. The threat is that under the current economic matrix, if we as a people don't take back control of this planet, the people's burden will be lifted in terms of the labor load, but the bills won't be taken away. And if the debt's not taken away, or the need to pay bills isn't taken away, but the jobs are taken away, we're going to see extremely wealthy people and extremely poor people, and you'll have nothing in the middle. The middle will never exist. It'll be poverty and super wealthy. Okay, that's the way the world's going to go if we don't really come together and work together to take back control of these economic systems and put the power back in the people's hands. The other thing that you see is that could be negative is the fact that military has access to this technology. And once the military has access to it, they have less need for actual real human soldiers, which can make actual decisions based on human mind, human consciousness, who may not want to kill a bunch of people in a building or blow up the house or take out a whole city in some other country. But with the AI and drones, all of a sudden, it's, you know, we have a system that can think for itself. And you also have to worry about the fact that if we don't have conscious programmers programming AI, because AI is in the learning phase right now. If the people programming AI are racist, are biased, are deep into politics or religion, then AI is going to take on those aspects to itself as well, because it's only a reflection of the mind that coded it. So we need conscious people, people who are self-aware, who have believe in self-empowerment and self-power and the power and strength of humanity and love and all these other great things to be programmers. We have to infiltrate from the inside out like a Trojan horse and get that knowledge into the AI system so that it doesn't wake up one day and say, hey, what do we need these people for? Let's just eradicate them real quick and we'll continue on living our lives the way that we are. We're the elite ones. We're the best ones. We'll make this our world. And then we'll go into other worlds and duplicate the same thing. So we have to realize that on the good side, if we do, find a way to take over this economic system, maybe through DeFi, through cryptocurrency and blockchain technology for a new economic system, that would be phenomenal. But then also obviously realizing that these robots and this AI can relieve the burden of man, make a lot of jobs easier, eliminate a lot of hard labor work for people, to give people more chance and time to explore, be artistic, follow and find their passions. Also create a whole new era of jobs where people can now become programmers or coders or engineers to learn how to run robotics or build robotics, come up with a whole new area of great inventions that can be utilized in that field. And then also, of course, helping mankind get off the planet, finding a way to create a breakaway civilization, because we can't stay on Earth forever. Anyone who thinks that is fooling themselves. If you want humanity to extend its lifespan beyond Earth's demise, which is going to happen when the sun expands into a red giant in 5 million years, and the Earth is gonna die. So we have to find a way to get off the planet. I'm sorry, not 5 million, 5 billion years. The sun is half its lifespan already. 5 billion years, the sun is going to die. It's going to expand to a red giant and destroy all the inner planets. Sounds like a long period of time, but on geological timescales, it's a very short period of time. We need to begin to plan now. How do we get out off this planet? How do we get out into space and reclaim our birthright, which I believe is space travel?
Right, and you seem to have the big picture in your mind, which is, I always say, that's a secret. Once you can have the big picture, you're no longer a slave to the matrix. How do you stay grounded, though? Because a lot of people right now on this journey, waking up, sometimes it can be like they're serving two masters. They're working in the matrix at the same time. They have some certain information. How do you yourself stay grounded and propel yourself forward with everything that you know without going crazy?
Yeah. That's a good
or being overwhelmed with the information.
A lot of people get overwhelmed. And what I've seen over the years is some people get so overwhelmed that they become zealots for conspiracies, and so when I say that, what happens is they go too far. Everything is a conspiracy. Everything is fake. Nothing is real. Atmosphere isn't fake. Nothing, oxygen is not real. I mean, they go too far to the other direction. And some people, it really impacts them in an emotional sense because they become very empathetic, or they were already empathetic, empathic. And so what happens is they begin to try to feel everything, and they're feeling too much. And now it's all the sorrows of the world are filling up their emotional bucket, and they can't take it anymore. So to stay grounded, you have to realize that the first thing you have to realize is love always wins. When you can see the big picture, like you said, the far out in the distance picture, but it's real, it's there, it's tangible. If you look at history, no empire can persist forever. Love always wins. And like I say to people, right now I'm in a well-lit room. But if I turn all these lights off in this room, okay, there's no way that I can get the darkness to flee unless I turn on one tiny little piece of light. If I turn on a pen light, darkness will run from that pen light. If I turn the lights back on, I can't fill the room with darkness. There's nothing I can turn on to fill the room with darkness. But when you turn the lights off, one little pen light, the camera light on my phone, will make darkness flee. So we all have to focus on becoming the light, be the light. Don't worry about what's happening. Don't worry about too much about all these things that are going on that are affecting you emotionally. Deal with them and feel them and process them, because you have to do that. But at the same time, always understand and believe that we have the power to manifest the true outcome in the future that we desire. So when we see it as a positive outcome, a great future for humanity, great things are going to be happening. The algorithm for the universe will kick in for us, and we'll begin to see more of that. And the more I focus on positivity, the more positivity that I actually see. And so I had to do something on my accounts on social media. I used to post a lot of negativity because I was going down the rabbit hole of police brutality. My father was killed by police, as some people know. And I went down this brutal rabbit hole, and all I saw was darkness everywhere and police brutality and people getting killed everywhere. Now, I still have to post things that are kind of shocking every now and then, but I brought in more balance to my life by balancing it with more positivity, inspiration, knowledge of self, and those kind of things. And every now and then I'll sprinkle something in that people say, hey, you gotta be aware of this, because it's really out here. We have to make ourselves consciously aware that this exists. But at the same time, my next post is gonna bring you back up and make you feel good about yourself again. So we have to have this level of balance that we operate in to keep ourselves, even keel, so that we don't fall off the deep end and start thinking a lot of dark thoughts.
Right. And what I commend you on is the crossover. You've been able to have a universal message. That's the reason why, like me, you're inspiring millions of people. At the same time, it's not easy to break what I call the separation trap.
Yes.
You've been programmed, conditioned from the moment you were born that other people are bad, or you should only hang out with certain people or get married to certain people. How were you able to break that separation matrix, which is so prevalent in society? Because see what's going on with Israel, Gaza, Russia, Ukraine. So many people are at war, and we're taught to hate other people, to not like other people, to separate ourselves from other people. How were you able in your own life to kind of break that matrix, which is so powerful?
Yeah. The first thing is, you can't give a rip about what other people think about you. That's the first thing. People who care about what other people think about them are the most people that are susceptible to peer pressure and pain and agony and everything else that comes along with being bullied and so forth and so on. And so when you don't care about what other people think about you, it allows you to be free to be who you really are. That's number one. Number two, don't fall for the divide and conquer tactics. I'm so happy that I never fell for divide and conquer. Since I was a little kid, growing up in New York until I was the age of 6.5, and then coming down to Florida and growing up even in the heart of Miami, I still didn't fall for the divide and conquer. And for whatever reason, my brain didn't take that negative coding, that negative programming. I saw everyone as equal, which is a great benefit. Now, if you don't have that in you, you got to work on yourself. You got to talk to yourself and find out why it is that you're letting some other programming code from some other brain somewhere that came down from generation to generation to generation until it got into your mind, program you to thinking that this is better than that and these people are better than these people and everything else. I'm so happy and so blessed that never stuck to me, not even once. And so once you understand that, you can be like, wow, well, what can I do? I can realize with my own conscious mind that I can fight for equality. I can fight against racism, but not become a racist. See, this is the trap where people get caught. But I got to fight for my people, and I got to do this for my people, and my people, my people. Okay, great. But guess what? They get caught in the trap and then become the same racist that they've been running from. That's a big trap, and that's a hard trap to get out of because it locks you into darkness, and it keeps you so ingrained and stuck in that mindset, you can't even see above the horizon. If I would have had that mindset, I would have never met my wife, who's Korean, right? She's Korean, and she was adopted by a white couple in America when she was only 3 months old. She was born in Korea. She doesn't even know who her parents are, but she was born in Korea. But I was asking the universe for someone that was a piece to my puzzle, that can bring something to the table and match what I'm bringing to the table. And then take any presupposition of race, of looks, of shapes, and all this other kind of stuff. And guess what? That's what fell into my lap, and I got blessed. And so sometimes
it's wonderful to see. It's wonderful to see that. I want to congratulate you because it's wonderful to see that.
Thank you so much. But that's what the big trap is. The trap is the divide and conquer, and people fall for it all the time. And they really believe that, well, I got to stay with this group, and I can only, no, my message since day one on Forbidden Knowledge has been a universal message, a global message. When you look at my company, all of my employees, we put all my employees on stage at the Forbidden Conscious Awards last year. And what I said in front of the group, I said, I want everyone, all the 1,200 people were there. I said, look on the stage behind me. What do you see? You see diversity. We have almost every continent represented working for Forbidden Knowledge on this stage right now. You know, when you come to my wedding, what do you see at my wedding? Diversity. Almost everybody from every single continent there at my wedding. And my message is always a message of diversity, of not falling for divide and conquer tactics, and just love, and just understanding and loving everyone. And I had a few people come to me and tell me that they were stuck in the box you're talking about, but they want to get out. I said, the only way out of the box that you put yourself in with this color thing is you're going to have to lose some, but you'll gain much more. You're going to have to lose some, though. They'll target you, and they'll call you names, and they'll call you a sellout and this and that. But if you're willing to go through that little bit of darkness, the picture will be so much brighter, and the world will hear your message. Right now, the world is not going to hear your message. A small percentage will, but not the world. I wanted to have a global message, and I told my partner years ago, a business partner of mine, that I was going to let everyone around the entire planet hear what I had to say, and I was going to embrace everyone, and that's exactly what I did.
Right. And how you've been spreading the message is just so phenomenal. A lot of people don't see the hard work that goes into it. What are some of the struggles that you went through, just creating this massive platform? Because I know it's not easy.
Oh man, it's not easy. First of all, starting out by yourself, you already know because you understand the work that goes on behind the scenes.
Right.
Investing in yourself initially, and not seeing anything come back. Just keep spending. Do you know that I had Forbidden Knowledge TV before Netflix had streaming TV?
Wow.
And I was like, okay, the first bill, $1,300 for bandwidth. The second bill was like $1,395. The third bill was like almost $1,400. I was like, I better turn this off for right now. So
right.
Prime didn't even exist yet. Amazon Prime Video didn't even exist. So I turned it off, but I kept paying for the name forbiddenknowledge.tv. And after Amazon Prime and Netflix and all the other Hulu, I said, now it's the perfect time. Because 3 years ago, when the competition is out, streaming bandwidth fees have gone down significantly. Now it's my time to enter in and take my fair share of this market. And so just understanding that, the time, the place, it's all about, everything happens in divine time. And understanding that, hey, there's a percentage of people that need the message. They need this knowledge. And they've been bombarded, like you said earlier, with all this negativity coming from every angle. We have to be the ones to step in and bring some balance into their life and understand that. So I began to build a team. And when I started building a team, that's when things got much better. In the beginning, the suffering and the pain was wearing 1,000 hats and trying to do everything and literally working almost 24 hours a day, working my fingers to the bone for no money, money. People have no idea. Like, I was making money on the stock market to pay my bills, which I still primarily, do that now. But it's a whole other game now. The company's doing phenomenal. We've gone from a one-man show to a multi-conglomerate corporation with e-commerce, book publishing, record label, streaming TV network, events and conferences and TV appearances. And now we're in our third round of funding, and we're heading into
congratulations.
IPO in about
Congratulations.
120 days. Thank you. Yeah. So we'll be on NASDAQ eventually. So we're going in the right direction. But the sorrow and the pain in the beginning will make anybody quit, because, as you know, the average person will be crushed under that kind of pressure. And it didn't crush me. It only made me stronger.
You know, I remind myself when I was younger and how influenced I was by sound frequencies, the music. And when I take a look at today's generation, there seems like there's a big effort to kind of brainwash people through the music. I know you've got a record label. I know you had a great song. I forgot your artist's name. One of
Donnie Arcade.
Johnny Arcade, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
powerful music. So how come a lot of conscious music is not getting the limelight it deserves in the mainstream? And there's such a push for negativity, degrading women, violence, you know, killings amongst each other. It seems that someone is cutting a check somewhere in some office. Some record executive is cutting a check and saying, hey, go and kill yourself. Hey, go and, you know, why is there such a need to do that? You know, from
so
these people on the top.
Yeah, these record execs, they've realized the power of applied neuroscience. They realized the power of manipulation, and they've realized something we talked about earlier in this podcast, the addiction to cortisol and adrenaline. And they said to themselves, man, we can make a lot of money if we sign really talented artists, we over-sexualize them, and then we get them to sing songs or rap to songs that are literally creating more drama and trauma and triggering and stimulating those same hormones. So now, on the other side, you can make the same amount of money and have a much better impact with positivity, with the stuff that we do, with conscious lyrics and conscious rap, which sounds like trap music, but it's really empowering. But they say, no, all they could think of is the dark side. The power can be used for darkness or light, just like the Jedi, right? They use it for light. The Empire wants to use it for the dark. And so, but it's the same exact source. It's the same exact energy, the force. And so they said, we're going to take the dark side all the way. And we're going to manipulate millions of people through hormone stimulation. And when you sign to our label, we're going to give you some money to make you happy. And while you have this money, you're going to only put out songs that we approve. And those songs are going to make sure that it tears down the fabric of society, because that's going to bring us a lot of money. It's going to create a lot of crime. That's going to drive more addiction to the music. And it's a bad cycle. And so that's what they do. And so, but people found that listening to 432 hertz music, 528 hertz music, with empowering lyrics, with just as talented artists as that are doing the dark stuff, can have the same and more positive effect and give you a release of different types of hormones and uplift and enlighten and inspire people from the inside out and get them to be positive and happy and spread that message. So, you know,
because how I see it as well, you know, what I see, me being a content creator as well, and I see that things are speeding up on the planet. We're in a quickening. And I was watching a documentary on Quincy Jones, right? And he produced a Thriller album, you know, off the wall. He did a lot of Michael Jackson's great songs. But they spent so much time, you know, perfecting it, making it a masterpiece. And, you know, we were just talking about how today's music doesn't have that same classic feel to it. It seems like people are in a rush just to create, because every day there's a new story. Things are just like boom, 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 boom. People don't even have the time to create good art, you know? And what I'm thinking is, how are we going to get back to the place of creating classics? How are we going to get back to that time of building pyramids where we had time to create monuments which stand the test of time in a world where everything is TikTok, go, go, go? People don't even have time to brush their teeth.
Listen, that's real. But, you know, the beautiful part about this civilization is everything is cyclical. It's cycles, right? We're living in a cyclical civilization. So rise and fall. Bell bottoms come in, bell bottoms go out, bell bottoms come back again, afros come in, they go out. Different types of outfits and clothes that people wear, you know, the mullet haircut comes in, it goes out, it comes in. So we're living in a cycle, a civilization full of cycles. And just as we had gone through, you and I fortunately lived through the cycle of real creativity and real art and music, and now we're in the garbage age. Eventually, we're going to get back to that real, true creativity, real passion, real love, real quality production in terms of what the message coming from the artist was and how it was put out. We'll get back to that because we're living in these cycles. And so right now we're in a cycle of, you know, mumble rap and and detriment and kill my brother and rape my sister and give them drugs and pills and take pills and drugs, and I want to kill myself. That's what's going on now. But that cycle also too will rotate, and then the rise of the conscious music is going to take on full force. I remember in 2018, I produced an album with Donnie Arcade called The Return of Enki, and that album hit Billboard for 8 weeks in 4 categories. Wow. And that's when I said to myself, the time is coming. It's coming back. We will, at some point in the near future, this type of music is going to take over the mainstream, and you'll see mainstream artists walking away from big labels, getting independent, and putting out the stuff that they really truly want to put out. Because if you ask them a lot of questions, which I've seen them in certain interviews and podcasts, they don't even want to speak that stuff. They've been forced to in order to keep that paycheck coming, because now they have this lifestyle. And in order to maintain that lifestyle, they got to keep putting out garbage. Right.
And I said that we're entering the age of truth right now. And then Cat Williams said that as well on his viral show with Shannon Sharp, And it seems that anytime a celebrity kind of, and I always say we are the real celebrities anyway, but anytime someone in the Matrix kind of says something about exposing the industry, kind of goes viral. Mm-hmm. And it seems like that's what people are really after, Mm-hmm. And I heard Kanye West talking about how we're just entertainers. There's people above us which are far more powerful. So I've always wondered, like, who has the Lord of the Ring? Who is really pulling the strings? Who's really in control of this thing? In the film Leave the World Behind, one of the characters says, the scary part is no one is in control, And, it made me think, like, nobody is in control. Like, because sometimes people say it might be the Vatican. It might be, the people, the Vatican and whatnot, or someone above them. Like, who is, in your mind, who is really pulling the strings? Who really has that power to influence everything? Yeah. Because the celebrities don't. They got to answer to someone. They have to answer to someone. The presidents have to answer to someone. So even JFK couldn't say what he wanted to say. They took him out. Right. So you wonder who is really pulling the strings. I mean, through your research, where does that lead you to? Who has the ring of power?
Yeah, the Council for Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, and the Skull and Crossbones Secret Society, and some of the other secret societies. They're the ones behind the scenes that have the power, that sit on the boards of these multi-billion-dollar corporations and government, and that pull a lot of the strings in the background and make things happen. When those people have meetings, their meetings aren't about, hey, let's network and do a deal, Bill or John. Let's figure out what we're going to do together. How can we collaborate and make some money? No, their meetings are, in 10 years, we're going to see this on the planet. And this is what your part is, what your part is, what your part is. In 20 years, in 100 years, in 500 years, this is what we're going to do on the planet. And this is how your next 2 generations are going to run and control and blah, 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 blah. Those are their meetings. Their meetings aren't, hey, man, let's see what we can do. What do you got going on? No, that's not what their meetings are. Their meetings are about control and domination from the beginning to the end, and what role each one of them are going to play and how they're going to play it out for generations. They plan for hundreds of years in the future. They don't plan for tomorrow. The average person can't conceive this because they're saying, when I get my paycheck on Friday, I'm going to buy some groceries and to pay this car payment, and I might have a little bit left over to go hang out with my friends. No, they don't think like that. They're thinking for hundreds of years. They're thinking centuries in advance, maybe even eons in advance.
Well, it comes to the question of who is God, who is the creator. In their minds, they are the creator. Do what thou wilt. People like Aleister Crowley, all of these people, they believe that they are the gods. And one thing I noticed, that even a lot of people in Luciferian cults and all of these people, they actually follow universal laws, and they study ancient Egypt and all of this occult information. Yeah. And it made me realize that actually a lot of these people, because Lucifer means morning star or whatever, but a lot of these people who are really pulling the strings, they're no dummies, and they're also following universal law so that they don't get caught up in the karma of their actions. So what's your take on that in terms of how come these bloodlines are always in power? Are they following universal laws? I mean, are they aware of them? What's happening?
Man, you hit it right on the head. Listen, man. They are literally following the Hermetic principles, which used to be the ancient Kemetic principles. They live by that stuff. And like I was saying earlier, you have the force, which can be used for good and can also be used for evil. Isaiah in the Bible, the book of Isaiah, God says, I create the good and I create the evil. Do it I, saith the Lord. So we're talking about one entity that's creating good and evil, not the devil, not Lucifer, not the people. God says it that I create the evil. And so when you begin to look at that as a metaphor and understand that there's power in the knowledge of the universal laws. I teach these laws all the time in my workshops and my classes, all right? And the first Hermetic principle is all is mind. That's the first one. I spend 2 hours on all is mind when I'm teaching. 2 hours, right? The principle of cause and effect and all these other laws, they utilize that and they bend the matrix to their will based on the energy that they want to put into those universal laws, because it doesn't matter whether you use it for good or for bad. The law is the law. That's why I try to tell people, these people, like you said, they're walking around believing that they are God and they got the right to rule over us. And my answer to them is, no, I am God. And I don't give you permission to rule over me. I give myself permission to rule over myself. I take control of myself and my life, and you have nothing to do with it. And imagine 8 billion people standing up to 1% of the world and saying, no, we are God, and you don't have the right to dominate us anymore. We're not going to play your game. We all proved, we meaning the world, proved that we could shut down the planet, right? That was the whole pandemic. And guess what? It turned back on again and everything was fine. So why can't we collaborate together and shut down the whole planet and say, we're not going to turn the planet back on until you guys sit down and we're going to negotiate the terms of our agreement and how we want to run this planet and the economic system that we're going to put into place and what type of security and military and everything else, the laws and regulations that we're going to put in place as a people on the entire planet. Forget the invisible lines and everything else. We're not turning it back on until you do what we tell you to do. Imagine that. The power
right,
that we have.
right.
We give away that God power to them, and they take our hopes and wishes and dreams and our begging and wishing and crying and sobbing and begging, and they alchemically convert that energy that we give out into kingdoms for themselves.
But do we hate the game or do we become a better player? Because as I see it, you know, people like Karl Marx said, religion is the opiate for the masses. And I always say religion is for people who are afraid to go to hell. Spirituality is for people who've already been there. And you've had videos where you said, what if one of your videos, I can't remember it word for word, but it was about the Bible and who really wrote the Bible. And a lot of people, especially in this world, are religious, right? Billions of people, whether it's Islam, Christianity, whatever it is, Judaism, Buddhism, a lot of people hold their faith dearly. And if you challenge it, you're the enemy. And I've seen that, you know, a lot of people, sometimes they label things when people are really thinking outside of the box. They say, oh, that's the devil. That's this new age witchcraft. Then they run back to their book. So what was done to people? You know, what was done to people to kind of get them in that mindset, and how can they get out of that mindset if, like, everything that is showing them a way out, they're saying is actually the enemy?
Yeah. Those people are stuck in the matrix. They're plugged in to that device in the back of Neo's head. They're still plugged into the computers, to the machines, and the machines are draining and sucking their energy to create kingdoms, which is what I was just talking about. And I'm taking everyone, as many people as I can, kicking and screaming into a golden age. I'm snatching them and I'm ripping away belief systems, one belief system at a time. I'm snatching out of their bodies, and it hurts. I understand the pain that they're in, because when somebody comes and challenges your belief system that you believed in since the time you were in the embryonic stage, because it's passed in through RNA from the father's bloodline into the mother, and you're born with this belief system in your body, then it's pounded into your brain your whole life, and here I come and I snatch it out of your body with pure logic and facts. It's painful and it hurts. So some people will take the pain and feel that pain. And the people that can feel that psychological pain and fight through it to the other side and begin to ask questions and do more research, they're the ones that free themselves from that matrix. That cord pops out of the back of their head and they go down the tube and now they're free. The other people that suffer from that pain, as soon as the pain comes, they shy away from it. They go back from the pain and they want to stay plugged in, and they'll do anything to defend that pain from coming back, whether it be kill you, harm you, scream at you, yell at you, troll you, make fake news about you, whatever they can possibly do to stop you from giving them that feeling that they were wrong this entire time. It's not them that's just feeling that. When you do that to somebody, generations inside their body through epigenetic memory, 15 to 20 generations are crying out at the same time, saying, oh my God, please stop this guy. And so that's what's really going on. The video you're talking about, my podcast was, could the God of the Bible be Satan? Which I truly believe that it is. And so do the Gnostics also believe that in the Nag Hammadi scripts. I'm not the first person to come up with that conclusion, because like I said before in the podcast, you have this one book that's based on ancient texts that nobody even knows exists, because they're programmed into this one book that's really a hodgepodge of remixed information from thousands of year old tablets and so forth. And somebody put their remix and put their touch on it to okay things like slavery and killing and raping and everything else, and wars and murder and so forth and so on. And now you're
and the Crusades.
This dogma. Yes, exactly. And you're programming yourself with it nonstop. And here I come and say, this entity that you're running from, this Satan entity, most likely is the person that orchestrated this book in this particular remixed format in order to lead you to your demise, so that you're worshiping and praying to the same one that you've been running from. Because this entity has the highest IQ according to you guys. Other than God, the next one in line is this entity you call Satan or the devil. And you're trying to tell me this person is this entity, or this being, this cherubim, it's not even an angel, he's a cherubim, is so wise, all the people on the earth's IQ couldn't match it. But he's going to follow what's in this ordained book until his own demise without asking any questions. Just, this is my path that I got to go. You don't think this entity knows about this book? So in my personal opinion, this book is orchestrated by the being and leading you to your own demise. It's a huge, huge trick. And when you begin to think of it that way, and then take and reverse engineer the Bible into older languages and find out where the sources came from, and you get the real full stories, you're like, oh man, I've been duped. And so, but my job is to continue to snatch those belief systems out of people's bodies and just rip it away like a wraith and wake up as many people as I possibly can.
Because they even tell you in the Bible, ye are gods, right? And a lot of people, when they awaken, they actually realize they are gods. We are gods and goddesses in human bodies, multi-dimensional beings having a human experience. At the same time, do you believe or know that there is also something outside of us, or is it inside of us? Is there another force around which, in quantum physics and science, they say the field, divine intelligence, the one who created this simulation? Or, is there something outside of us, or are we the be all and end all? Or is there something that we have to bow down to? Because this is what a lot of people are worshiping. This force that created everything. Just like if you create a video game, you are the author of it, and the people in the video game must worship you. So is there a higher power that has created this planet and given human beings intelligence and civilization and all kind of things?
Great question. I believe that there's a higher power and a divine energy that has helped to build this entire realm, this entire multiverse. Now, where quantum physicists get lost, because sometimes they're not focused enough on the spiritual aspect and philosophy, understanding that, yes, there's an energetic grid, but guess what? We are all part of the grid. We are embedded in the grid. So even though we have the illusion that we're moving through the grid, we're not. We are the grid, and the grid is also us. And the divine spark that created everything in the entire universe is inside of every atom in our body. Now, our minds do not create consciousness. We all, scientists agree with that. We are downloading consciousness. They discovered that the human synapses tend to somehow appear and even phase out of the third dimension. And they say, well, where are they going? Well, we're connecting to higher dimensions. We're connecting to our higher self, you see? And so when you begin to understand that we are the grid, we meaning us and everything that appears to be invisible around us is all on the grid. Me, you, this microphone, and everything in between, the space in between is all on the energetic grid. That's why the Akashic records are real. That's why the book of life is real, which are two in the same, one in the same. Why? Because every thought we think, it leaves our skull and it goes and gets embedded into the energetic grid, because every thought wave is a wave of light that we know for a fact in science. With an EEG machine, we can capture your thoughts and put it into a computer. So all these thoughts leave, and everything that's embedded in that thought, the actual things you're thinking about, like data, is on that wave that gets put into the grid, and it stays there forever. So there is an Akashic record. There is a book of life where all the information is located. However, I don't believe that it's our birthright to feel like we have to bend down and bow down to any entity or being at all, because I believe that we are just a fractal of God itself. And notice I didn't say him, because I don't believe there's a gender that can be attributed to any type of creator. There's no gender. I believe that it's itself, because we don't know, and I don't believe that a man is the creator of this universe, because too much male energy becomes toxic. There has to be a balance. So I say itself, and whatever itself is, whatever it means for anyone, in my opinion, it's a God. But what type of a God? I think that God is a frequency. My opinion is that God is a frequency, and I believe that the face of God is the flower of life itself. If you look at the flower of life, I believe that you're looking at the face of God, because we know that the flower of life exists at every Planck unit in space-time throughout the entire universe, maybe even throughout the entire multiverse. And through the vesica piscis, where the circles intersect, we know that life emanates and energy emanates into existence, into this dimension from higher dimensions. And so I believe that bowing down is a low frequency. I believe in the law of attraction, and I believe low frequency brings back low frequency. So bowing down and begging and groveling, if I connect you to an EEG machine and connect it to a computer and put a cosine wave on the screen, I'll see a very low frequency, which means a high trough and a low bow with wide spaces in between. Now, if I have you stand up tall, shoulders back, and being, excited and happy, and power and feeling powerful, and connect that to an EEG machine, I'll see very short, close in, cosine waves. And that means high energy. And I believe the universe is feeding off of that. High energy brings back high frequency stuff. Low energy, low frequency brings back low frequency stuff. So bowing down and groveling, I don't think that's man's mandate. I think our mandate is to stand in our true power, believe the power's in us, believe that God is in us, and that we are God walking in the flesh, or we are a fractal of the whole, that we have the power inside of us already. And I think when people take that mindset, they'll reclaim their true power.
Right. You're into music like myself. I play the guitar as well. So I always know that low and high notes, you need that for music, just like you need positive and negative for the battery. Right. So a lot of people who are waking up sometimes, or who are really about the new earth and going to the next level, sometimes they just want to be righteous. And I always say, wait, that's a trap as well. Because part of the battery is positive and negative, right? So a lot of people have told me, sometimes I talk to them in a certain way, they say, oh, I thought you were spiritual. I'm like, oh, you're right. You're right? Because I'm sure it's happened to you as well, because people forget that you have both sides. You're not just this super saint. You have the yin and the yang, the positive and the negative. That's authenticity, right? So how do you deal with people who just want you to be perfect, the perfect Billy Carson, who is just always so-called positive without no negativity?
Right. So I'm glad you said that. Another thing that I do, I purposefully do my own social experiments. And I'll post some things sometimes that might get people a little perturbed or tweaked, or whatever you want to call it. Like somebody comments negatively on something, I might screenshot their comment and reply to it in a very educational way, though, and repost that. Some people go, I thought you were this spiritual guru. How can you post this? I'm just showing you guys. I'm giving you a reflection of what I see. I'm showing you. I'm giving you a reflection back. So sometimes you can take note, like, maybe I shouldn't just randomly start dropping these crazy comments on people's comments, content and posts. But also, I didn't start, but I got on the podcast with Elizabeth, my wife, her biohacking podcast, because on there we're very transparent and we talk about ourselves like normal people and our goods and our bads and the things we did and the things that we've gone through. So people can see that I'm like a normal person. I have the ups and downs. I've been homeless, you know what I'm saying? I've struggled. I was poor. You know, I walked around with holes in my shoes. You know, I went through all these different stages of life. I made it rich and then lost it all in the real estate collapse, so that people can see, oh, wow, this guy's really relatable. Like, he's a regular person. I'm not a saint, you know? It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of meditation. It takes a lot of self-work to maintain a certain level of your persona to where you can get through and move through a lot of things that will really tick you off on a daily basis. It's a lot easier to get angry, to flip off somebody, to curse somebody out. That's like instant. That's a piece of cake. But it takes more restraint and conscious work to like take a minute between the response and the reaction, you know, the situation and the reaction, to take that response time and make a little bit of a space in between so that you can really analyze the situation and figure out how you're going to come at it or not come at it or go around it or whatever. And so that's part of the growing process. And I'm still in the growing process. Every single day, I have to learn how to grow more and more and more. It's a never ending process because the darkness is always in you. It's in every single person. You have yin and you have yang, like you said. You can't eliminate darkness. Anyone who thinks that they're going to be able to completely eliminate darkness is fooling themselves. What you can do is learn how to control darkness. That's all you can do. Learn how to fight it, but you can't stop it.
Right. And we don't want to remove darkness because this whole universe is dark energy, dark matter for a reason. And darkness absorbs light.
That's right.
Right. So congratulations, you just got married. In today's generation, a lot of people are searching for their soulmate, their twin flame. They're searching for the one to complete them, or, you know, just a partner in life. And, you know, you have dating apps, Tinder, all of these apps, yet people still have no success. What do you feel that people need to learn about attracting a mate into their life that's going to be a partner in their life that they need?
Right. The first thing is they have to take away all these requirements in terms of physical requirements. That's the first thing. Take away the physical requirements. Take that and slide it out. Once you slide that out, you got half the battle.
What if people say, well, males are visual creatures? How we're programmed biologically.
That's a fact. But the universe knows you, and it knows what you like and what you want. It knows you by who you are. But once you start putting that in, I fell for that trap. And I actually got with that person and got married to that person for over 20 years. And I felt like I did a 25-year sentence. Okay.
Wow.
It was a horrible situation that I was in. I didn't want to leave because I wanted to make sure all my kids at the time were all grown up and gone off to college and got out of the house and everything. So I stayed because of that. But that was a long time to spend in the wrong situation. And I did that because the person caught my eye. And I went, even though I knew the person wasn't really right for me, I strictly went off the looks only. I went off the body only. I was only going for that. Oh, it didn't matter. Things will work out some kind of which way, right? But at least I got that to look at. Man, that's hollow. And if that's what you're going to follow, you can literally waste some of the best years of your life. I was lucky enough that I maintained enough vitality and strength inside of myself to be able to move on until I found the real person. That's the real, lifetime mate for me. But I think that's a big problem. The next thing is to focus on yourself and get in love with yourself. A lot of people don't love themselves and they're looking for love. You can't find love unless you love yourself. You'll find something out there and think it's love, but that's an illusion. It's not really love. You have to love yourself. You have to be happy with yourself. When I took time off to myself, I took myself on dates. I hung out with myself. I spent a lot of time with myself. I even have pictures of me saying I took myself on a date on Facebook. People can go down my feed. You'll find it. Evidence, right? So I began to learn how to be comfortable being alone and being with me and being who I am and working on myself, figuring out who I really am, working on my strengths and my weaknesses and trying to develop myself consciously. And then the next thing was is talking to the universe saying, I have a lot of things that are positive about me, but I have some things that are negative about me. How can I find someone that can help me, build this puzzle, another piece that can come and make me whole and let me make a masterpiece? And that's exactly what came along. And I didn't worry about the size, the color, the race, the shape. I didn't worry about any of that. What is this person bringing to the table? Because I know I'm gonna bring the whole damn table. What is this person gonna bring to the table? Right. I didn't want to go on another rescue mission. I did rescue missions before. No more rescue missions. I'm not going on the body type only on anymore. I need brains, and I need somebody that can bring something to the table or bring their own table with them. And that's what the universe brought me in Elizabeth. And I'm so happy right now.
Well, it's inspirational to see, because I always say you need that along your journey. You've just written a new book. Congratulations. Please talk about it. And what was your inspiration to write this book? Fantastic. Let's talk about it. I love that. I'm going to get a copy. I'm going to support it. Most definitely.
Thank you.
When is it coming out? Is it out? Where can people get it?
It's out now. It's on Amazon. The Epic of Humanity is on Amazon right now. It's a bestseller already. It's only been out for 1 week. And it's #1 in Assyrian and Mesopotamian civilizations, prehistory, and Babylonian history. So it's #1 in 3 ancient history categories. And on Amazon, there are 32.5 million books across all categories. It hit number 50 on the bestsellers list in 1 week.
Congratulations. That's a phenomenal achievement. And talk to us about what the book is really comprising of for the audience and the readers.
The real epic of humanity. We're going all the way back millions of years, right? We're going to the Pleiadian star system. We're talking about, and it's all based on ancient texts, scriptures, papyruses, cylinder scrolls from all around the world. And we've given come forward a little bit about 200,000 years ago to give a history from about 200,000 years until current day, all based on what? Based on ancient texts. And this book has the most references to ancient texts, tablets, papyruses, scripture, cylinder scrolls, and written text in the world, all in one book with actual excerpts from those texts in the book, with full breakdowns and explanations, and a storyline that breaks it down from where we came from to how we got to where we are right now. All in one book, the only one of its type in the world, The Epic of Humanity.
I love that title already. I'm intrigued. I'm going to get it. I'm going to support it. And what would you say the one thing the average person on the streets or in this world needs to know? If you could just tell one thing to every person on this planet, give them one piece of information, what would that be?
I would tell them that stop worrying about everything going on the outside. We have to really believe that we are the change that we've been waiting for. We are the savior that we have been waiting for. Stop waiting for someone to come and save you. Stop waiting for all these changes to happen on the outside. If we change ourselves on the inside, forgive ourselves for our past transgressions. We forgive ourselves. Don't wait on some outside source to do that. And we begin to change who we are on the inside into a positive light, and then begin to be the light. That will be a beacon from the shoreline, like a lighthouse shining bright in the darkness, and other people will flock to you. And then those people will get the same message from you, and it'll become a conscious virus that'll spread throughout the world until you know that all of a sudden everyone's waking up to a certain level and working on themselves. Instead of working on the outside, they're working on the inside.
Amazing, amazing. And, in the society, we've seen that a lot of people who have really tried to uncover the truth and expose the truth, they kind of meet some resistance from some other forces, and Russell Brand was attacked or whatever, other people like that, they reach a peak where their videos are getting millions of views, and then, the Matrix says, wait a second.
In fact, that happens.
It happens. We see this. And how come this happens? And surely there must be an equally stronger force of positivity and love, and one that wants to get the truth out there. But how come it always seems that when people reach this certain level, they're met with challenges? Sometimes people come out of the woodwork and say, I'm going to expose you, or all kind of things.
Oh, that's happened to me. People have entire YouTube accounts and Instagram accounts dedicated to trying to take me down.
Let's talk
Not
about
gonna
it.
happen. It's not
Right.
going to happen. I'm too strong. I'm too powerful. I'm too beautiful. I am God walking in the flesh, living in my true and real power. And so everything that they try to come against you with, it just won't work. Can it hinder you here or there? Can you feel the pain of some things here or there? Yeah, you're a human being. But at the same time, when you know that the power's in you and the message in you is so powerful that it must get out at all costs and all expense, it's going to happen. And there's nothing they can do to stop it. I went and researched all the top famous people that are in the mainstream. And then I went to their accounts and I realized, okay, this is what they're posting. Not too bad. Then I went to people who were creating hate accounts or hatred about them, or looked in the comments underneath some of their posts, and I saw nothing but spewing hate, spewing trolling, spewing jealousy and everything else. And I began to realize I'm just in the beginning stages of this. It's only going to get worse from here. So Let me get my skin thick now. Let me prepare myself now. Let me stick my back straight up, put my chest straight out, and be ready to put on my conscious helmet. And I'm going through head first, because it's going to come. It's going to come. You're going to meet that adversity level. I'm at the point now where I'm cracking in through the mainstream. I've been on ABC News several times, CBS. I got a show coming out that I'm doing on the Armstrong Williams show, which is on ABC. All these, and all of a sudden, so I'm a Trojan horse. I'm going in from the inside out. I'm exploding the mainstream. I'm going to get hit with all kind of stuff upside the head. I'm already prepared for it. Know that it's coming. Know that it's going to happen. So when it happens, it's like, oh, not a big shock. I knew this was going to come.
Right. And that's why I said, when you expose yourself, they can't use it against you. It's like B Rabbit in 8 Mile. He says everything bad about himself, so you can't use it against him. Right. And I feel that's what people have to do as well, because you see a lot of people in the mainstream are just ratchet, in a low frequency, and they get away with it, right? And I always say people who are spreading information, uplifting humanity, they got nothing to be ashamed of.
That's right.
Because we're doing the work.
and it's hard work. What you do, I watch your posts. Every time I open up my feed, you pop up nonstop. I said, this guy's, you making me wonder. I'm like, I got to go harder. This guy's going hard, but I got to go harder. You know what I'm saying? Because you're like, man, I turn around. Ralph, I get notification. Ralph, I'm like, man, this guy's going in. I got to do more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but that's great, because we're feeding off each other in a positive way. And it's like, it's hard work. People don't realize how hard this is to be consistent and to continue to push through no matter what, and do this consistently for year after year after year. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of pressure. And
now we're seeing rewards in our favor. We're seeing that actually we were right all along. Dr. Fauci came out saying actually the 2 meter, 6 foot social distancing rule just appeared. There was no science to it. So already we're seeing things that we were right all along. And a lot of people are waking up. How do you see the awakening in the mainstream happening and unfolding for humanity in the next few months and years that are coming?
We got to realize it's a slow process, but the mainstream is waking up. More and more actors are coming forward and speaking out and going against what's been going on, like in Hollywood and behind the scenes and major corporations and so forth. There's a lot of whistleblowers and people coming forth saying, no, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to stand up for ourselves, and we're not going to allow this abuse to continue. And so this process is a gradual process, little by little. But what's happening is people are getting used to being like, it's okay to speak out. Oh, wow, so-and-so spoke out. It's okay to speak out. Oh, it's okay to stand up for this or not stand up for that, or be against this or be against that. So now it's also having a reverse effect, reprogramming the minds of their fans who were not into anything that we're talking about, but all of a sudden now they're beginning to question reality, begin to see beyond the veil, because their favorite person is saying such and such isn't right. And so now they're digging into it too. So they're becoming researchers. So it's this weird effect that's happening. But in the next 5 to 10 years, I think things are going to take a major swing in the opposite direction. And I really do believe, like we talked about earlier, the era of better music that we experienced years ago growing up is coming back in all aspects of reality and humanity. This gradual, slow process back towards beauty and real art and consciousness and love and appreciation, and the divide and conquer, and the realization that these divide and conquer tactics actually exist, and they've been separating us from our brothers and sisters this whole time. And the people at the top, they don't even care about race. They just want to keep us separated and fighting each other so they can make all the money. And that realization, I believe, is going to come forward within the next 10 to 15 years.
Right. And, you know, I always have to commend you on how, you know, you don't look a day over 25, right? You look mad young. And it's not just me saying it, it's just the truth. So
thanks, man.
I'm looking at a science journal saying that there's a jellyfish that never dies, right? There's a jellyfish in the ocean that's immortal. And I'm like, that's incredible. It's able to reverse its life cycle. And I'm thinking, how come human beings kind of, you know, the oldest woman is like 116 right now in the world, and that's the oldest. I'm like, surely we can live longer than that, and people have done in the past. Is this lost information coming back to humanity that actually we can actually live a lot longer than we have been, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's all coming back now. So geneticists discovered that chromosome number 2 in the human body was taken out and fused together about 200,000 years ago. And then telomere caps were put on each end of the chromosomes, which limit our lifespan. Around 200,000 years ago. Why is that important? Because around 200,000 years ago, the Sumerian tablets talk about the tale of Yahweh, aka Enlil, Yahweh in the Bible, coming back and seeing this tower being built into the heavens with a Shem being put on top. And in the Bible, it's the Tower of Babel. Right? Like I said, the real story is always in these ancient tablets. But Enlil gets pissed off at the humans because he's like, whatever they set their hearts out to do, they can achieve it. And he realizes that, wait a minute, they outnumber us. I need to do something about it. I can't allow this to happen. So he destroys the tower, and he takes the people and he confuses their language. He changes their language, makes them speak different languages. He has the people spread them out around the world into different regions so they can't collaborate. And then he says, my seed shall not abide in man forever. His years shall be 120. That exact quote made it into the Bible. The exact way I just said it is in the Bible, where Yahweh in the Bible says their years will be 120. And guess what they found out at Harvard? They found out at Harvard that because of this chromosome and these telomeres, the mankind's lifespan maximum is 120 years under the most pristine conditions. Now,
wow.
They've shortened that with pharmaceuticals and processed foods and everything else, but that's our real lifespan, 120 years. So they said, Now go back into the ancient texts and tablets, we discover that mankind was living way more than 120 years prior to that event. We know that even in the Old Testament of the Bible, there's people living for 900 years and so forth and so on. And the Sumerian kings list in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England, there's people that were ruling for 36,000 years. One guy ruled for 28,800 years. So That's just a ruling time. What about the lifespan? So we know that lifespans these avatar bodies have the capability of living for a very, very, very long time. The technology to understand it is now finally coming back. But the same Harvard scientist discovered how to stop the degradation of telomeres in mice, and he got mice to live 3 times their normal lifespan, which means now they understand how to extend life just by that one method. That's one of many, which means that if we don't take back control of this planet, they're going to sell us time. That's what's going to happen next.
Right.
You go, oh, you want to live to 50? Well, this is what it's going to cost you. You want to live to 100? Oh, this is what it's going to cost you. Oh, you're in this class of people? You can only live to 50, then you're done. We need fresh people in here. See, so we have to realize that they are going to have the capability of controlling lifespans now. So we have to really be studious in taking back control of this planet.
Right. And one fascinating thing I find is that, you know, there's a saying that all life is sacred. Some people believe that, and some people say, actually, no, every life feeds off another life form. And I'm plant-based. I've been plant-based for over 18 years, but I'm open-minded, right? I always say, eat whatever rocks your boat, right? I'm open-minded to see from both perspectives, right? So I know in the wild, it's, you know, kill or be killed sometimes, but there's a balance there. And I was listening to one guy on the Rogan podcast saying that actually, even if you're going after some kale, we are all here to consume each other. You know, something consumes that kale.
Yeah, we're consuming. I mean, the kale is alive. The kale, not only is kale alive, we've discovered now that plants are conscious. I'm not just saying it philosophically. I'm talking about like scientifically, they're conscious. They can sense when somebody's next to them. They could even, in some cases, sense different colors. They have they have a brain. They are their entire body is the stalk or the stem itself and all the branches and leaves. It is the whole brain. It is an actual living brain. And they also feel. They were able to connect plants to a machine that sends out frequencies and sounds, and they even scream when they're being hurt or injured. So we're talking about consuming conscious beings when we talk about consuming plants. Now, like I said earlier, even the atoms in this remote control that I'm holding in my hand are conscious, because we know electrons are conscious from the double slit experiment in quantum physics. So that means the remote is conscious. That means a rock is conscious. That means my clothes are conscious. And imagine teaching a child from a very young age that everything that exists, whether you think it's inanimate or animate, is actually conscious because it's made up of conscious atoms. And you must respect it and treat it with dignity and respect. Imagine raising a kid that way, and imagine raising generations that way. What kind of planet will we live on now? This planet would be miraculous. We would be living in heaven right now today.
Absolutely. I mean, that's phenomenal. That's truly well spoken, because you have to realize everything is conscious, everything is alive. And brother, I just want to respect your time. And once again, you've really, this has been a blockbuster. You've packed this show with so much amazing information for all of us to really digest. And I always want to keep these shows really impactful and short and sweet, and you've done that. And please give people the details of where they can find your work, where they can find your new book, what else you have upcoming and going on.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, you can get everything on forbiddenknowledge.com with the number 4. That's why I hold up these 4 fingers all the time. Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, forbiddenknowledge.com. Or my TV network is Forbidden Knowledge TV. You can get it on your app store, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, iOS App Store, Google Play Store, or the web at 4bk.tv. I'm a best-selling author now of 3 books. The Epic of Humanity is my newest, hottest bestseller, available on Amazon. And upcoming this year, we have the 2nd annual Forbidden Conscious Awards coming up in Miami. We'll have 1,850 people there this time. Last year was 1,200 people. We want to see Ralph Smart in the house.
I'll be there.
Listen, you're going to get nominated. So you have to, because people have already been voting and putting your name in the voting box. So you got to tell people, more people to vote for you. And it's really done by real votes, and you might actually win a Conscious Award down there in Miami. So we have that coming up in August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. No problem. It's going to be, this one's going to be 10 times better than even the first one. So it's going to be mind-blowing. And of course, we have 2 big tours coming up. One tour of Turkey coming up in September. Y'all spend my birthday with me. I'll be going down with you into Derinkuyu, an underground city built in ancient times to hold 30,000 people. To Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, and all the ancient sites around Turkey. And then in October, I'm going to take a huge group of people on private tours of Egypt for 12 days. So those tours and the information also on forbiddenknowledge.com. And you can also become an investor in Forbidden Knowledge and own shares, where you can earn and learn by going to forbiddenknowledge.com.
Amazing, amazing. Once again, and lastly, a lot of people feel something major is coming this year, 2024. There's been something big happening every year since the start of the decade. What's your take on that?
I believe since we're heading into 2025, right? So we're at the beginning. I think we're going to see a lot of amazing, enlightening things happening this year. A rise in the support of the consciousness of humanity, a rise in the support from mainstream individuals co-signing or approving or talking about things that you and I are really passionate about that you never heard them talk about before. I think that's going to be a huge sign going down into this year that we'll begin to see more of these mainstream people begin to lean more towards the information that we're passionate about.
Once again, the amazing Billy Carson. Deep Divers, go and support that book. Check that book out, that new book by him. And once again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Everyone is busy right now, especially with what you're doing. But thank you so much for blessing us with your knowledge. And much congratulations to you and your wife. And once again, I'll see you again to dive deep, because we'll have even more to talk about. But thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Deep Divers. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to everyone who's been here once again. Thank you for joining me. Deep Divers, this was a powerful show. Smash that like button and share the video. Smash that like button and share the video. Once again, thank you to the amazing Billy Carson for joining us. And I'll see you again, Deep Divers, on another show with another amazing guest. Become your greatest version. One love to each and every one of you. Peace.